Today's top story from Reuters Breakingviews Standard Chartered and the accusation from New York state regulators that it was involved in money laundering worth some $250 billion of deals linked to Iran. With me now to discuss this story is Reuters Breakingviews assistant editor Peter Larson. Peter, the stock market has given its verdict, its instant verdict. Shares are down 25% almost today. But let's take a step back. How serious is this for Standard Chartered?
Well, I mean, clearly when a quarter of your stock market value disappears one morning, it's very serious. It's serious for a couple of reasons, partly because of the scale of the allegations, $250 billion of transactions, and also particularly this threat from the New York regulator that it could remove Standard Chartered's New York banking license. Now, you might think, well, one state in 50 in the US, does that really matter so much? But when the state is New York, and that's where Standard Chartered's one US office is, if it's going to be a big universal bank, big wholesale player, it has to have a presence in the US, and not having a New York banking license could make life very difficult. So it is very serious. But I also think the seriousness goes beyond the sort of the financial question. It also goes to sort of a question of culture. This is a bank that until now had a very high reputation. Its reputation had actually been enhanced by the crisis. It avoided financial and regulatory problems, and so suddenly, and if you read this order from the New York banking regulator, this sort of idea comes across of a bank that's quite arrogant about dealing with US regulations, trying to avoid US regulations, and making some fairly sort of fruity comments about
some industrial language was used.
Exactly, which won't be repeated on a family program.
Not by me, certainly, no.
About the Americans. So, and I think that's really a question for the interesting question for Standard Chartered is the people who were in charge at the time are the people who are in charge now. That continuity of management has been one of its great strengths, but it also poses a question about whether there's something wrong with the culture inside Standard Chartered.
Now, as Paul Tucker from the Bank of England might say, it's a welcome to the cesspit. It's Standard Chartered, Barclays, HSBC, the big beasts of London banking have been exposed for one reason or another in the last few weeks. Is something rotten with UK banking?
Well, you would certainly, if looking from outside, you would certainly think so, wouldn't you? I mean, literally sort of 3 banks, in a space of 2 months have all been dragged into problems of one form or another. I think... And clearly this will play to the argument which is being made particularly by US regulators that they need to keep tighter tabs on what's happening in London and also keep tighter tabs on British banks operating in the US and also on US banks operating overseas and basically extending their regulatory reach.
But that's the point, isn't it? Some would argue that the shades of the Elliott Spitzer here, they're overreaching here.
Well, I think we have to, I mean, the New York regulators' order is written in pretty a kind of sort of strong language, talks about drug kingpins and terrorists without really substantiating any of those charges. Calls Standard Chartered a rogue institution, which once again probably a bit of hyperbole there. So we'll have to see to what extent, and Standard Chartered has pushed back quite strongly on these allegations and saying it doesn't recognise the sense that's portrayed in this order. So we'll have to see quite where reality lies. But in the current environment where nobody's really going to take the bank's word for it, so the bank is going to have to work extra hard to persuade people that actually it's right in this case and not the regulator.
But the way it looks just now, Standard Chartered is guilty until proved innocent, not the other way around.
Well, that's clearly the way the market is interpreting it, yes.
Okay, yep. Peter, thanks very much. That's all for now. My thanks, as always, there to Peter Larson. Well, for more agenda-setting financial insight, do watch our US Breakingviews show every day at 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 BST. I'm Jamie McGeever. This is Reuters.